Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming along tonight. It's 7 o'clock, so we will start the hustings now. Firstly, I'd like to offer Lem Turner, the pastor of the church, a great deal of thanks for opening up the church tonight, and he has agreed to moderate for us as well. As an American national not registered to vote, he was one that all of the candidates could agree on. Some important information before we start. Invitations were extended to every one of the 6 candidates who are standing in the general election. We have had apologies from Madeleine Moon, who told me that she was not available. I am told that she's in London at the moment. I have no way of verifying that, but information does say that she is in London. The Brexit candidate, Rob Morgan, sent his apologies that he had a pre-existing business meeting set up that he couldn't cancel. And the Plaid Cymru candidate, Leanne Lewis, said that she would be stuck in work and couldn't make it. It's obviously extremely frustrating and disappointing, but each individual candidate has their own reason for not attending. And I certainly thank all of the 3 candidates who have attended for doing so. In my personal opinion, hustings are an extremely important part of the process of a general election. And hopefully, well, not for another 5 years, because I don't think anybody wants another general election for 5 years, but hopefully they can become more of a thing again in the Bridgend area. So without any further ado, I will pass the microphone over to Lem, and we have on your left, well, probably best to introduce yourselves, really, isn't it? We have got a moment where each candidate will have 2 minutes to introduce themselves. So I'll go back behind the booth now and disappear, and I'll hand you over to Lem, but thank you all for coming.
All right. Thanks, Steve. You guys bear with me in my accent. Not very Welsh. But how we'll start this evening is we'll just start right at the end. And if you could introduce yourself and give a little information, and then we'll work our way this way, and then we'll get into the questions.
Hello. Right.
There you go.
Hello, I'm Jamie Wallis, and I'm standing for the Conservative and Unionist Party here in Bridgend to be our next MP. And I was born in this constituency. I grew up here, I live here, I went to school here, my business is based here, and I'm raising a family here. I care about this area. And I think one thing we need is a local MP that's present and active in the local area. I'm a young dad. I've got 2 children, 2 girls, 6 and 3. And for me, the job isn't about just what's going on in London. Of course, I'll fulfill my obligations in the House. But what I'm eager for, what I'm keen on, is campaigning on the local issues that matter to people and their families here, holding regular surgeries, attending local events, and helping people and supporting our community. One way I think we can do that is to focus on the local economy. And as a businessman, I think I know what it takes to bring investment into the area, to attract jobs, and to boost our local economy. I think as far as the town centre is concerned, and this is a big issue, we need to listen to the traders more. We need to focus on reversing the pedestrianisation, on reviewing the car parking strategy and bringing more facilities to the town. But as well as working locally to boost the economy, we have to make a success of Brexit. And we have to get Brexit done. The majority of the people in Bridgend, in Wales, and in the UK voted to leave. So we have to leave the EU so that we can move on to the other important issues that matter. Health, education, the environment, policing. In order for us to address these very important issues, we need to get Brexit done so that we can move on as a country. To do this, we need a Conservative majority government, so vote Conservative on December the 12th. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. Good evening. Oh, it doesn't sound. Oh, there we are. Good evening, everyone. My name is Alex Harris, and I'm proud to have been selected as the Green Party candidate for Bridgend in this election. I moved to Porthcawl in 2006 when I met my husband. He's Porthcawl born and raised, and I fell in love with the area as well as with him. And I wanted to give something back and make a positive contribution to the local community. So in 2017, I stood in the local elections and I became a councillor on Porthcawl Town Council. And I'm now working hard to make a difference to my hometown as a councillor, as a school governor, and as a volunteer. My track record demonstrates a commitment to public duty and a commitment to the local community. So why am I standing in for Parliament? This may seem like a huge paradox, but I'm standing for Parliament because I'm fed up with politics as usual. I'm fed up with parties who promise to make life better, but then just tinker around the edges. I'm standing because I want to make the real changes that this country needs. Green politicians are different and we can be trusted. When other parties are twisted and turned with every change of wind direction, we have always been consistent with our message. I'm passionate about building a fairer Britain and tackling the enormous problems created by a government that's cut public services and introduced welfare reforms that cause thousands of people to go into debt and rent arrears. The number of rough sleepers has more than doubled since 2010, and this Christmas there will be 135,000 children, who will be in temporary accommodation. There are now more food banks in the UK than there are branches of McDonald's. How is this possible when we are one of the richest countries in this world? Why is it normal to see homeless people on our streets? Why is it normal to see collection boxes for food banks in our supermarkets? Why are we having conversations about period poverty and girls missing school because they can't afford sanitary products? We can do better than this. We need politicians who will work together to mend our broken country. As you know, the Green Party has always led the way in taking action on the climate emergency. And I'm really happy that some of the other parties are finally joining us and talking seriously about the most important issue facing mankind today. If elected, I will be delighted to work across party lines to take immediate action.
All right.
Thank you.
Time. Thank you.
Hello, my name is, is that working? Yep.
Yep.
My name is Jonathan Pratt. I'm standing for the Welsh Liberal Democrats. I'm today 35 years of age, born on the 5th of December. So this is what I'm doing to celebrate my birthday. I was born in Bridgend, lived in Cowbridge Road for a couple of years. My parents moved to Porthcawl then when I was about 8 or 9, and I live in Porthcawl still. I went to school in Oldcastle Primary and then moved to St Clair's, where I stayed there until the end of my education. I joined the Royal Fleet Auxiliary straight after school. It's the support wing of the Royal Navy at sea. We supply them with everything from breakfast cereal to bombs and fuel, so that was an exciting few years. I left then. I joined my father's business. We sell Celtic and Welsh giftware wholesale across the country. Used to be limited to Wales. I'm now selling to the Isle of Man, north of England, and Scotland and Cornwall, so things are getting bigger. I'm not going to be a millionaire anytime soon, but I'm enjoying working for myself. In my spare time, I'm a Coast Guard rescue officer, so voluntary with Her Majesty's Coast Guard Search and Rescue, and I've recently joined the British Red Cross as a fire and emergency support service worker. So we go to immediate help with people who've had house fires. And so we deal with the immediate aftermath of finding a roof over their head, food on their bellies, clothes on their back for the entire family, be that single or a large family, which presents its own challenges depending on whether you see them at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the morning. Why am I standing? I'm not really sure, to be honest. It's a hard one. I like helping people. I've always aspired to try and help people as best I can in the most open way possible, and I think I found politics can be the way to achieve that. So that's me. I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you. So now that we've met the candidates, what we'll do is we'll read out a question, and then we'll allow each of you to have 2 minutes to answer those questions. Is that correct? I believe. So what we're going to do this time is I'm going to ask the question, and then we'll start with yourself, give you 2 minutes, and then move on. All right? So the first question is, a lot has been said about investing in communities. Can the prospective MPs explain how and if funding to the local authorities will be increased? As I understand it, BCBC have had their funding slashed over the past few years by Westminster. We in Bridgend pay the same of the highest council tax, some of the highest council tax, for a declining service. Will the prospective MPs keep a closer eye on this and the local authority, or will they give the local authority and make the actions of the local council less answerable to the constituent MPs?
Okay, so that's a good question. Obviously, local authority cuts are where people see politics in action, not only cuts, but also their services. It's the things that people are most interested in. Are people really interested in high levels of defence, or are they more interested in who's picking up your rubbish waste and how they're collecting it? Unfortunately, local authority funding is devolved. It's the Welsh Assembly that decides how local authorities are funded. Yes, this has a knock-on effect. If Westminster cuts budgets in England, the cuts get passed down to the Welsh Assembly, which then fundamentally end up being cut to local authorities. So as a constituent MP in Westminster, the only thing I can make sure is there is more funding for local authorities, and then I can only hope that the Welsh Assembly, in whichever venture it is, in whichever government, be that Labour, Conservative, any form of coalition, then passes that funding from Westminster down to the local authority. So I'm limited in what I could do, but I will make sure that what I could do is delivered. Thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan. And as Alex, go ahead.
There it is.
You got it?
Test.
So, as Jonathan said, the central government, or Westminster government, has slashed funding to local authorities for the last 10 years. Services are at a breaking point, and absolutely the Green Party want to put more money, more resources into local services, and they would want to put more money into that. We also want to devolve more power down to both the Assembly and to local authorities. And one of the other things that I think the question touched on was accountability of the local councils. One of the Green Party policies is to get rid of the cabinet system of councils and take it back to a more committee-based form of council. So that would be another way that we would want to change how local authorities work. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jamie?
Thank you. Well, obviously, as a Welsh Conservative MP, I would fight for as much money as we can reasonably get for Wales. But this is a devolved issue, as Jonathan and Alex have already highlighted. So the issue of local government funding really rests at the doors of the National Assembly for Wales, and we have to hold Welsh Government to account for the way in which they fund local government. But we also have to be prepared to ask difficult questions of our local council as well. I'll give you an example. Everybody talks about funding cuts to local government every time something unpopular seems to happen. But if we look at the recent issue of the sports fields fee increases, what lots of people were telling me is they simply don't understand why other councils, such as Rhondda Cynon Taf, don't have such huge increases in fees, 500%. Now, there are funding cuts, which can be in the order of a few percent, 10%, but I cannot see how they could go from having a fee structure that requires a modification of a factor of 5. It simply doesn't make any sense. And I think we need a local MP that will campaign on those issues. And if my party colleagues are ever fortunate enough to be running the Bridgend County Borough Council, or whether it's a Lib Dem or a Labour Council, whoever it is, I would be asking those difficult questions. Why, if they can do it in RCT, are we not doing it here in Bridgend? So yes, I will campaign against to the Welsh Government to fund Bridgend County Borough Council as much as they can and to give us our fair share. I would campaign for value for money for our council tax, which is very high in Bridgend, one of the highest in the country. And I would make sure that the decisions that are taken are done so comparatively against other councils and make sense on that scale. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamie. We're going to go on to the next question now. And again, the same situation, but Alex, we'll start with you, if that's all right. Alex, what are the differences between the oven-ready deal and what we currently have, and how will this affect the average person?
I think I'm assuming we're talking about the oven-ready Brexit deal that Boris Johnson has been talking about here. I'm not sure that I'm probably the best person to comment on this. I think Jamie might know a little bit more about whatever the oven-ready deal is for Brexit. So I might just pass it across to him. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, as you can probably guess, I'm a big fan of ready meals. But what I can say is on this oven-ready deal, what we have is a situation where all 635 Conservative candidates standing for Parliament are united behind Boris's deal. And we are the only party that can realistically expect to form the next government that has a united position on Brexit. And let's not forget why we're having this general election. Brexit was not delivered. It wasn't delivered by October 31st. Because of the impasse in Parliament, we've had to go back to the people to get this done, to get Brexit done. What's the difference between this deal and what we have at the moment? Well, this deal respects the results of the referendum in 2016, whereas where we are now does not.
Thank you, Jamie. And Jonathan.
Okay, so oven-ready deals. I'm not sure the last time you ate a microwave meal, but they're not great. They look good on the packaging, but in reality, it's just slop on the floor. I don't really understand why Boris Johnson had to go back to renegotiate what Theresa May had already set out. It seemed to be an argument within the Conservative Party, which is, I'll respect that. I'm not a member of the Conservative Party. Whatever is going on in their party is up to them. But Theresa May had a deal. I mean, I'll start off on the bat. It may surprise you. I'm a Remain candidate in this election. I don't think any deal other than where we are at the moment is better than what we've got. But no, I don't understand. I don't believe that Boris Johnson's oven-ready deal is a renegotiation. It's a capitulation to Theresa May's red lines, where Northern Ireland would remain part of the Union, whereas apparently it's not that important anymore after giving £1 billion to the DUP. So maybe that was an interesting concept. But yes, I mean, I'll have to ask Boris what an oven-ready meal is, and I would be interested in if he's ever eaten one, to be honest. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, do we get time to debate at the end of each question? Yes.
Yep.
Can I
We
come
can
back
do
in
that.
on that?
We'll make sure that the timer's set before you do that. Go for it.
Okay, great. Well, I have to respectfully disagree with Jonathan there. I think that the deal had to be renegotiated because of the backstop. The people voted in the referendum to leave the EU, and that meant retaining control of our borders and our laws. The deal that was negotiated couldn't pass through Parliament because MPs had a real issue with the backstop, which, let's not forget, would have disallowed us from unilaterally leaving a customs arrangement. In other words, we would have been locked into it potentially permanently unless the EU agreed. And I for one, am glad that Boris Johnson got rid of that from the deal.
Thank you. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I was absolutely appalled by Boris Johnson's new version of the deal, and the fact that we will now have a border down the Irish Sea, and that there will be different regulations between Northern Ireland and the rest of the UK. I think that's a massive step backwards. It's a total disrespect for the Good Friday Agreement and the peace process that's been going on for 20 years now. It's still not right there. It's still not where we need to be. And Boris Johnson's deal is just going to make life so much harder in Northern Ireland going forward. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, and just as a quick rebuttal, the backstop was only actually in place if the current sitting government was unable to create a trade deal with the European Union. So if it was to be in place permanently, that doesn't say a lot of confidence in the Conservative government and their negotiating skills. Thank you.
Just 10 seconds, just to say, Parliament didn't look like it was able to agree on
All right.
anything, so I'm glad
right.
that the backstop was
See ya.
removed.
All right. It's good. Go on to the next question at this time, and we'll start with you, Jamie, on this one. When you're elected, what is the first thing that you will do?
Well, the Prime Minister has already set out his agenda for the first 100 days, and I think the very first thing we'll be doing is getting the legislation through the House of Commons necessary to get Brexit done by January the 31st. So I believe that there are procedures that need to be followed with the state opening of Parliament, but the very first focus will be the scrutinisation and the passing of that legislation. But if I can be 100% honest, the very first thing I'll be doing when I get back from the count on the 13th is sleeping. I'm extremely tired, and as I'm sure all the candidates are, we've been campaigning very hard. So after that short sleep, straight up to London to get that bill through.
Thank you. And Alex?
Okay, no, that's fine.
If I was elected to Parliament, there are 10 Green bills that the Green Party have put together that any MPs that are elected to Parliament would be able to put forward as backbench MPs. This would be a Green New Deal bill, a bill for the people's vote, an NHS reinstatement bill to increase funding for the NHS by at least £6 billion a year, each year until 2030, a further and higher education bill, a sustainable economy bill to set binding targets to ensure our economy functions within environmental limits, a future generations bill like the one we have here in Wales already that would cover the whole of the UK, a universal basic income bill which would transform our social welfare system with unconditional payments to everyone, a new homes bill to deal with the housing crisis, create a framework to build 100,000 new zero-carbon homes for social rent each year, a renters' rights bill to give more security and tenure for people who do rent, and a voting reform bill to implement proportional representation and to create a fully elected House of Lords and to extend the vote to 16. And that would be my goal if I was to be elected to Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you. Jonathan.
And as a constituency MP, the first thing I would do is first find out who's going to be in charge of our country and find out who the people are I need to speak to, set up an email address, a telephone line and a post box and start taking your constituency work. So, you know, any problems, as soon as I'm elected, start sending me your casework. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. And moving along on to the next question. And Jonathan, we'll start with you. Having been homeless myself for years, and as I now advocate for others who are currently homeless, I would like to ask the following. With austerity measures still hitting families hard to the extent that many are one paycheck away from homelessness, with universal credit pushing people into undue poverty because of the needless delays in making payments, with veterans left unhelped, with kids leaving care without support networks ending up as lost boys and girls, what three things specifically will you do, and what three motions will you place before Parliament, if elected, that will help the homeless?
Okay. Right. And homelessness is a complicated issue. A lot of it spells along devolved lines and obviously Westminster issues. But the main thing you can do is stop the Vagrancy Act. If you make being homeless a criminal offence, people aren't going to come and help you. It's as simple. You're breaking the law now. You're not someone who needs help. So the main thing, you know, it's instead of being a criminal problem, it should be a real problem. You know, I'm not going to say that you can end homelessness altogether, you know, and there are varieties of homelessness. There isn't just the visual people living on the street. You have people who are sofa surfing, you know, who haven't got a fixed abode. So this is where things become difficult. Mental health is a huge issue. You know, it really is. It's very difficult. So, I mean, again, this is a devolved issue, but so there needs to be more funding in there. But the primary factor is stop making homelessness a criminal matter. You know, it is a real-world matter that needs to be addressed. And politicians at all levels, from your town and community councils to your borough councillors to your assembly members to your government in Westminster, needs to address this issue properly. Thank you.
Jamie?
Thank you. Well, the answer is everything I can. I mean, nobody wants to see homelessness in Britain. Nobody wants to see that. I think that we need to do more to ensure that people can get the help they need. Jonathan rightly pointed to the link that there sometimes is with mental health. That's an area where I think there needs a lot more attention over the next 5 years. And I think that this is an area where politicians really need to collaborate. We do have, this issue does spread across devolved issues and local government issues as well. So you're potentially dealing with 3 different political parties when trying to tackle this. So I think we need to have a collaborative and responsible approach to trying to do everything we can to help people that are unfortunately homeless.
Thank you.
Yeah, as both the other candidates have said, homelessness is a hugely complex issue, and the things that happen that can lead to somebody becoming homeless is people fall through the gaps. As you say, there's one paycheck, one big problem, one broken down car, one unexpected bill, and you can be out on your, and you can find yourself out on your ear. One of the first things that I would want to do as a Green Party MP would be, and if the Green Party actually got into power, we would stop the sanctions on universal credit immediately. We would stop the 5-week delay in universal credit, so that when people change their circumstances. They don't suddenly find themselves with no income for weeks on end. And I don't want to see families finding themselves in a different situation, having to go onto universal credit and then having no money over Christmas. That's just not on, it's not right, it's not fair. And one of the other things that the Green Party wants to do is to stop Section 21 no-fault evictions. That's something that leads to an awful lot of people having to move house unnecessarily. It creates a huge amount of cost to move home that people don't have, that it's resources that are not available to them, and that's one of the other things that needs to be changed. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex. We'll go on to the next question, unless there's anything there. If elected, would you support an independent Wales? If so, what would you do to ensure this happens in the next 5 years? And Jonathan, you can go ahead with that.
So, yes, not a fan of independence as such. I think we work better as a unit. That not work factors in for the United Kingdom. I think it works for the European Union, and then eventually maybe the world. But we'll go into, we'll stick with independence for Wales for the time being. I'm a federalist. I think Wales definitely needs a bigger voice in the United Kingdom. It's a small section which a lot of people, especially in Westminster, tend to forget about. But I'm also interested in the views of the population. I have my views, you will have your views. Am I opposed to a referendum or a view on independence in Wales? I think that is a conversation that we can have. It all sort of depends on the politics, but I think in the next 5 years, if we could have a credible referendum on the independence in Wales, I think it may be worth having, but I would not support independence in Wales. Thank you.
As a member of the Green Party, I believe that all decisions should be made at the lowest and most local level possible. I do believe in devolution, and I do believe in giving power to people who are most appropriately placed to make the decisions for the people affected. Talking about independence in Wales, I certainly don't want us to find ourselves in a Wexit situation where we've got a referendum with no plan. What happened with Brexit was we got asked, do we want to leave, yes or no? If we do leave, what are we going to do? I don't know. We'll find out later somehow, maybe. And we'll spend 6 months with the government wondering what on earth they're doing before they invoke Article 50. So if we are going to have independence in Wales and a vote on independence in Wales, then I would want that to happen only after we've had a working group put together a proper plan as to how that would go about and how it would actually happen. Thank you.
I am a staunch unionist. I believe in the United Kingdom, and I would campaign day and night to keep Scotland, Northern Ireland, and especially Wales in the UK.
All right. Anything to add there? We all good? Moving along. Let's see. Let me see this one. I am undecided on who to vote for. Why should I vote for you? Should manifestos be legally binding? Alex?
Okay, so I've spent the last 2 years, 2.5 years now as a town councillor, and I think I've got a great track record. I've shown up, turned up, done the job. I have one of the best attendance records in my town council, and I'm actively putting forward projects and things to do for our local community. If I'm elected to Westminster, I will continue to be committed. I will continue to show commitment to public duty and to the community and to work for them. Regarding the manifestos, wouldn't we all like them to be legally binding? Wouldn't you like to believe that anything that we promise now is going to happen? Am I going to say legally binding? I don't know. That's probably putting it a little bit strong, possibly, but we should be held to account. We should be able to stand by our words, by our deeds. And if you don't like what we're doing, if we fail to do what we say we're going to do, then please vote us back out again.
Thanks. Jamie?
Thank you. I agree with Alex. I think that we should be held to account, but legally binding is perhaps going a little too far, especially considering that things do change. And governments might need the flexibility they need to get us through changing circumstances. But on manifestos, I think what some people have spoken to me about is why we're having this election. And I think that the 2017 manifestos are an example of why this question was asked. We're having this election because one manifesto promise, which was to honour the result of a referendum, was broken. That was broken, and therefore we were unable to deliver on Brexit. So now here we are, trying to elect a new set of MPs that can get behind that referendum result, get Brexit done, so that we can move on to all of the other important issues that matter to people and their families.
Thank you. Jonathan?
Okay. Can I ask who asked the question? Sorry. Now, when you say legally binding, do you mean if you get into government, you are stuck to the manifesto as you wrote before the election, or should they all be legally binding before? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think making them, I'm glad you put it that way, making them legally binding before an election is difficult because you don't know whether you're going to be in government or completely wiped out as a party from one extreme to the other. Then you've got those dreaded things called coalitions, which sort of make, I mean, if both manifestos were legally binding, it would make it very difficult for two parties to work together. But yeah, I think if these are the promises made by a party, if they get into government, I think maybe legally binding is slightly too strong, but I mean, they should be held accountable very strongly to their promises made before the election, and why aren't they being fulfilled. So maybe not legally binding, but definitely a review, say maybe every 6 months or a year, of what have you achieved, how long do you plan it to be achieved, or why isn't it being achieved, why have you kicked into the long grass and completely forgotten about it. So yeah, no, I think that sort of view. Thank you.
Thank you. If we have no further, we'll go on to the next question, which is why does Labour still have a strong presence in Bridgend when a great number of residents think that they are doing a poor job in prospering the town or reposing the town? Who are the opposition in Bridgend? Alex?
Well, they're still in power because everybody, well, not everybody, but enough people keep voting for them to put them in. That's one of the joys of first past the post, is that whoever gets the most votes in a single area ends up winning and getting in. Over in Porthcawl, where I am, we've got 5 borough councillors, and not one of those is Labour. The opposition is the Independent Alliance, as far as I can tell at the moment, and some of them are also part of the Porthcawl Town Council.
Thank you. Jonathan? Oh, Jamie, sorry.
Hello? Yeah. Thank you. So I think this is a very interesting question. Why do they keep getting elected? And I think that, people are wising up. They're wising up to who's running their local bus services, who's running Welsh Government, and what MPs are doing in the House of Commons, how they're voting, and whether they agree with that or not. And I believe that the time is coming, that there will be a change, hopefully very soon, where we don't have just Labour representation in this area. But if you want change, if you want it, you have to vote for it. So that's my message, really. I agree, but what we need the people to do now is to express that dissatisfaction at the ballot box.
Thank you.
This local politics fun. Why is Labour in control in BCBC? I mean, it covers 2 wards for a start, so that's not only Bridgend, that's also Ogmore. Hopefully, I would argue that the people who vote Labour assume that Labour are a great party and they're doing a great job. I'll reserve my view on that one since Labour isn't here. But basically, it's our voting system. First past the post. It works for the big 2 parties, especially here in Bridgend. I mean, I'm not going to say it's particularly a Labour and Conservative love it, but in this election, in the main, people are saying, don't vote Labour because she's terrible, but so you have to vote Conservative. There's no sort of, or vice versa. The Conservative candidate may be terrible, so you have to vote Labour. It's very negative polling. So we're not voting any party because, you know what, I like what they're saying. Most of what I hear listening into this campaign, I mean, I'm not working as hard as I should do, but I do have a 3-week-old at home, so I'm on a very small budget for this campaign. But what I'm listening to is, we've got to get rid of Madeleine Moons. We must vote Conservative. Or how can we possibly imagine a Conservative MPs? We've got to vote Labour. There are other options. 3 of them are here, 3 of them who are not.
Just 2 of them are here.
No, 3 of us as candidates. Yeah. So that's fine. But fundamentally, first past the post is flawed. It allows winning margins of as little as 30%. So 3 out of 10 people get to choose our MP. So right. That's the issue. We need to change our voting system.
Thanks, Jonathan. On to the next question. How will you go about ending austerity, and how will you get more employment in the area? Jamie.
Well, in order to end austerity, we have to have a strong economy. We've got to invest in infrastructure. We've got to invest in the right areas, in skills and development. And we've got to make sure that that investment comes at the right time, in the right place, in the right area. So we need a party, really, that's going to direct the economy in the right way, get Brexit done, move on, and take us forward as a country. And then moving on to locally, I think we have had the disappointment of the Ford factory closing in this area, and I have spoken to a lot of people about that. We do have some good news stories, however. We have Ineos coming here. We have Oxys battery technologies moving into the constituency as well. And I think it's about building a strong team locally that knows how to bring investment into the area, knows what investors and the enterprising entrepreneurs are looking for in an area. And so I think you need to pick the people, really, who have that experience, who can deliver on that and hopefully bring jobs and investment.
Thank you.
How do we end austerity? It's basically, it's fundamentally, like Jamie said, a strong economy that helps a large base of taxation, but fair taxation. But I think the most obvious way, I think that Labour are proposing seem to be massive borrowing, but that doesn't stop austerity. That pushes it back to another generation. So my children will have to pay all this back. So fiscal responsibility, knowing what you've got. I mean, like Margaret Thatcher is not the most popular person in this area, but I mean, she the one thing that I did admire from her was the old housing. You know, a household has a budget. Why is a country any different? You know, so understanding what we've got, what we can spend, what we can risk, what we can't risk, and you know, living within our own budgets. But staying in the European Union will also have a massive help to this one, because we get huge amounts of investment in Wales, which helps our infrastructure, which helps us communities. You know, so this isn't something that if we leave the European Union, that we'll have to worry about. We don't have to replace that money. We can allow that money to come in, and we can concentrate on domestic issues at home. Thank you.
So the Green New Deal is a plan to spend £100 billion a year for the next 10 years. It's going to create new jobs. I think it's about 3 million new jobs on top of what we have currently. And and so that's going to create a whole new economy with jobs on the land, jobs in building homes, and jobs retrofitting homes with insulation and renewable energy and all of those kinds of things. And there will be jobs in land management as well. And these things will boost the economy locally. It will create jobs locally rather than just putting money, as the Conservatives have done with quantitative easing. It's been putting it into the multinationals, into the PLCs, and it's been sucking money out of local economies. The Green New Deal will put money back into local economies and support local businesses. The universal basic income will give everybody a secure amount of income each week, and that will allow people to have the security to make choices, to change their circumstances, to take on new jobs, to try out and set up new businesses. With businesses, the Green Party wants to change business rates and totally reform them and create a land value tax, which will again help support local businesses in the high streets and create local circular economy that will build up the local area and create a positive growing economy and move us away from the austerity that we face at the moment.
Thank you. Thank you. The next question is, what are you going to do to develop the, that's really hard to read. What does that say?
What are you going to do to develop the arts in Wales?
The arts in Wales. How are you going to support young Welsh entrepreneurs? What are your plans to support small businesses in Wales? And what is your stance on Brexit? That's a lot of questions. Okay, I'll tell you what. We'll start that's a bunch of questions. So what we're going to do, I think, is we need to break those down. And so we will start with the first one, because this is like several questions in one question. And I think they're all very good questions, don't you? Okay. So what are you going to do to develop the arts in Wales? Alex.
Okay, so going back again to universal basic income, that gives everybody security of income, so they can take time out to express themselves creatively. They can spend time creating their own art, creating their own films and other cultural aspects. One of the other things the Green Party wants to do is to cut VAT on pubs, restaurants and concerts and gig venues. So that would obviously support the musical side of the arts as well. I think that's all I want to say.
Next, Jamie?
Yeah. I think this is a very good question because the arts are a very, very important part of our culture and we need to support them. So the answer is I'd do everything I could. I also think, as well as some of the good points that Alex made there, one thing we need to do is raise awareness about the support that is already available. I spoke with a resident in Porthcawl who's actually going to be dancing in the ballet The Sugar Plum Fairy, and it's the first all-Welsh production, Welsh-based version of that, with an all-Welsh cast, I think, or an all-Welsh lead cast anyway. And when I was chatting to her, it became clear that there was just no information available or readily available about what support and what help that they can get from various sources to help them make a success of that. So I think we need to raise awareness about what support is already there and then also provide as much support as we possibly can.
Go ahead.
Okay. Arts and culture in Wales. Well, I would assume it's probably the same as I would do for the rest of the UK. Without arts and culture, you don't have a nation. It's as simple as that. You know, if you're not proud of something, there's no need to exist really. So it's normally the first thing that it disappears when you have to make budget cuts, unfortunately. But the arts and culture are great for business. It brings in a lot of money, individual talent and pride of our, any sort of art, musical, scripture, painting. You know, the amount of money that's invested in sponsorship over prize-winning literature and the arts is phenomenal. Our culture in sport, it brings in massive amounts of investment. You look at the Welsh rugby team. They don't have, or the Welsh football team for that instance. They don't have poor sponsors because it looks good on, to see success. So if you want to raise success, if you want to bring money into a local area, we have to develop strong and sophisticated art hubs. So people are interested, people can take pride in their local culture, in their local arts, and that in turn will bring in investment into the area. If you had a Bridgend arts event, if you find a good person who can, or good company who could sponsor it, they'll be proud of sponsoring it, and it develops what people may think is not a worthy trade, and I would say that it is a worthy trade. Thank you.
And the next question is, how are you going to support young Welsh entrepreneurs? Jamie.
Thank you. I think I've already touched on a lot of the support for business in the local economy. But as far as young entrepreneurs are concerned, are focused, I think that Wales can boast some of the proudest, youngest talent that there is out there, and I've met lots of fantastic young entrepreneurs that are doing some amazing things. Some of them in technology and in clean energy as well. So I think we absolutely have to support them and do everything we can, and that means creating an environment in which they can flourish. So that means having the right and fair taxes, making sure that we're reducing business rates as much as we can, making sure that they're able to get access to adequate capital to start up, and also, making sure that they're able to get access to the support that they need, from anything from writing a business plan right the way through to accessing finance. So yes, we need to do that, but the link up with the schools and education also has to be there. So they do have the Young Enterprise scheme, and that's very good, but I think we need to go further, and sixth form students also need to learn about business, perhaps a little bit more in the real world, and I'd like to see the expansion of the work experience scheme. I think it's just 2 weeks in year 10. I'd like to see sixth formers actually out there in real businesses, real work environments, so that when they have that great idea that could solve all the world's problems, and they can become the world's next Mark Zuckerberg, that it's someone from Bridgend, or at least someone from Wales that's doing that. Thank you.
supporting entrepreneurs. Does the question say young entrepreneurs or just entrepreneurs? Welsh.
Young.
Yeah,
Young Welsh.
Well, I mean, the question over young, I mean, who's young? If you come up with a great idea, does it matter what age you are? But the Liberal Democrats want to support small startup businesses with a living wage for the first couple of weeks. The manifesto seems to be quite vague on it. If I had my way, I'd expand it to a year. Most businesses fail within a year of their startup. That's not normally because it was a rubbish business or it's a horrible idea. It's because the money doesn't come in quickly enough. So people struggle. It's setting up your own business is really hard. So yeah, I mean, I think the government could lend support for at least a year to a young entrepreneur, a small business startup, to grow, and so they don't have to worry about putting food on their table. They can just expand their business and see where they are 12 months later. It's steps up. Then we need to improve and secure what we have in our university system. R&D, research and development. This is now big business. This is huge companies, like pharmaceutical companies. Most of them are private. They need huge investment, to get the top pick of brains, to get people, those startups. And so it's getting people into universities, to getting good education, a lifelong education, to develop their potential, their ideas, and if that becomes into a business venture, great, and good luck to them. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question, actually. Oh, sorry. Oh,
You nearly missed me out there.
sorry.
That's okay. So, especially for young entrepreneurs just starting out, getting access to finances can be one of the most difficult hurdles to jump through. And the way the banking system in this country has changed over the last couple of decades means that you can't go to your friendly bank manager down the road anymore to ask him to loan money to you, because the power has been moved away to central locations, and obviously a lot of banks are closing down. We've lost branches of NatWest and Barclays in Porthcawl. NatWest only has one branch in the whole of the county borough now. So one of the things the Green Party wants to do is to change the banking system here in the UK to be more like what they have over in Germany, with regional banks and more investment for local businesses to support the SMEs, to support local businesses, to support young entrepreneurs who want to get up and started. So giving them access to people who will actually lend them money for their businesses. One of the other things, going back again to universal basic income, is you can start up your business and you know that you've got money coming in each week to keep you fed and keep you going while you're growing and developing your business, and while you're waiting for the funds to come in and to actually generate some income through your new business. Thank you.
Thank you. And then the next question is, what are your plans to support small businesses in Wales? Jonathan.
I would say that probably expands to my previous question on small businesses around assisting in living wages across, to help start-outs. If I have my way, I'll expand that to a year. Again, most small businesses collapse within a year, not because they were bad businesses, but because it is difficult to fund them. So yeah, that would, I mean, as a small business owner, I know that it's been going for about, how old's my dad? It's about 30 years now. It's difficult. And global markets change. Since the banking crash, it's been even more difficult. And that's without a shop front. The cost of running a shop these days is astronomical. And fortunately this is devolved, so you'd have to ask the Welsh Assembly what they're prepared to do. But I mean, giving as much help within the first year of a business startup is the key to it. You know, it's a big risk for small families, and I think if they're going to make a go of it, you know, governments talk about risk and gain. Investing into a small business may be a risk, but in the amounts of money that they negotiate, a small risk, and it may come to fruition, and they could become big tax earners for the local authority. Thank you.
So for small businesses, one of the things that I've picked up, I've attended quite a few of the Chamber of Trade meetings in Porthcawl over the last couple of years, and business rates is absolutely killing them. It's the one thing that they talk about every single time I see them, and that is one of the things that the Green Party wants to totally reform. We will get rid of business rates and introduce a land value tax instead, which would be payable as a tax by the owner of the land, not the person who rents the shop, not the occupiers. And this would give them a huge boost and benefit to those local businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, expanding on what I've already said, where small businesses are concerned, and actually I do think this is very important, because when I was recently just driving very early in the morning to collect some campaign literature, I saw a gentleman opening up a newsagent, and it must have been something like 4:35 in the morning. And I think, as the Prime Minister said, you know, these people, these individuals that do that are the backbone of this country. I don't believe it's the Amazons and the Googles and the Facebooks. I don't think they are. I think it's the 1 to 3 person business that make up the 5 million SMEs in this country, and they deserve as much support as we can possibly give them. Now, we've made a commitment to review business rates. I agree with Alex on that. It is coming up time and again. We have to look at it. There is a question about the fairness between the way multinationals are taxed and small businesses are taxed. It does make up a much larger portion of small business income, the rates. But I think replacing it with a land value tax will simply be passed on via higher rents. And I think it will just crash the commercial property market. So I'd like to see that review that is going to aim to reduce rates for small businesses, for cinemas, for pubs, etc. I'd like to see that review look at whether or not we can perhaps look at it the way other countries use capital taxes, for example, so that we can try to rebalance where that tax is levied in terms of small business versus large and multinational corporation. But, you know, stories like Jonathan's, for example, where you're exporting Isle of Man, you said, and North England.
Is that time?
Yeah.
That's time.
They're the backbone of our
Thanks.
country. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Is that the end of the question? Yep. Okay, we're going to move along. What is your stance on Brexit? Jonathan.
Don't really need 2 minutes. It's a terrible idea, and I'll remain in the European Union. Thank you.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with Jonathan there. I'm a passionate Remainer. I believe that we are stronger together with Europe. And I've been on 4 marches up to London for the People's Vote. I've spoken at Bridgend for Europe meetings more than once, and I believe that we should remain in the European Union, and I will continue to campaign for that. Thank you.
You could probably give Jamie the 6 minutes.
Jamie.
Well, we need to get it done. We absolutely have to leave the European Union. What does democracy mean if we do not honour the result of that referendum? And I appreciate and I sympathise that not everybody voted leave, but we are in a democracy. It was a majority, so let's get on with it, but let's get a good deal. Let's turbocharge trade with the rest of the world, and let's back our 5 million SMEs to make the best of Brexit.
All right. Anyone want to say anything to that? No? Okay. All right. Let's attempt this question here. With a week to go to the election, there has been no literature or canvassing from any party on the streets of Wildmill. Having to find and read the party manifesto online does not engage the less technologically literate member of the voting public. In the post-election and in the run-up to the Brexit referendum, the public were bombarded with leaflets. Do the prospective MPs think that in the very important upcoming election, the difficulty in accessing information is a way to engage the voting public or to alienate them?
Okay, so I'm from the Green Party. We have very limited resources. I'm treasurer of our local party as well, and so I have to report at the moment each week to say, have we had any donations over £7,500 this week? I think I think the Conservatives had to report £3 million donations in one of the earlier weeks of the campaign. I don't think I'll be reporting £7,500 donations for the next 5 years in Bridgend, thank you very much. So trying to get our message out there is not easy. We can't reach everybody out there all the time. That's one of the reasons why I'm attending this Hustings, to be here to show my face and to answer questions to the public. And I'll just do the best I can. Thank you.
Can I agree with Alex that I think this is a brilliant way for members of the public to engage with the candidates, and I'd like to thank the organisers as well for putting this on. Do you mind me asking who asked that question? You. Okay, I apologise for not knocking your door, but I can tell you categorically that I have been campaigning in Wildmill, and moreover I've campaigned in every ward in the constituency. It's very strange because just before I walked in here, I was with one of my campaign coordinators, and I got messages through on Facebook saying, please can you stop sending me so much literature? And then I get another message saying, please can I have more literature from you? So it is difficult to get the balance right in every ward. I apologise. If you give me your name and address after, I will make a point of coming to visit as soon as I can. Okay. Well, we have been campaigning in Wildmill, and we will be doing so again. And yes, I think it is important that candidates send a signal about the type of MP they want to be about, in how they conduct their campaigns. And I can tell you that since the 22nd of August, since I got selected, I've been working full-time on the campaign all day, every day, knocking doors, making phone calls, delivering leaflets. And like Jonathan and Alex here, I think we are doing the very best we can. We are here this evening. Other candidates are not. And so, we will continue to do the very best we can, I'm sure. Thank you.
Well, basically, it comes down to money. I have a budget of £1,500 in this election, which is currently sitting on my credit card. So I'll have to speak to my treasurer later and get a cheque off it. But, that puts one leaflet through every household in the constituency. And it hasn't landed yet, so I'm really hoping it lands before the 12th of December. I might have to ring the Royal Mail up, but that is basically what it is. It comes down to money. Now, there are so many different ways that people have tried to address this issue. Am I going to complain that the Conservative Party have millions of pounds of donations? No, because I'd love them. You know what I mean? I'd run one hell of a campaign if I had this level of money. Reality is that I don't. People argue whether funds should come from central government or respective governments to run campaigns on budget, so every candidate would have a set amount to spend, so they'd have a free, open way. there's one way to go, but that's a hell of a cost to the taxpayer. But then you can reasonably argue, well, if you're that successful, why aren't you raising the money yourself? You know, and that's another way to go. So I work with what I've got. This has been a very difficult election for me personally. My wife was pregnant for 9 months up to three weeks ago. I have pretty much, I think this is the first time I've left the house. You know, so, I mean, for me personally, this election has come at a bad time, but I won't complain about it. It is what it is. Hopefully you get to read some of my literature. If you don't have access to the internet, which is another option, I can give you my phone number if you want to discuss things. I'm happy to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, do you mind if I just come in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to make a comment on the donations issue that was made by both the other candidates there. Yeah, it's no secret the Conservative Party have outraised the other parties, but I can tell you that nothing we've done locally has been funded by the campaign centrally. So everything we've done locally, so that's anything that has my name and face on it, has been paid for out of local funds, and that has come from local fundraising and from local donors, and most of those donations are, you know, sort of £25, £50. So I am delighted to have the support of the local association that I do. They are very active in fundraising, and I've had great support from the members of the local party. So thank you.
I'll throw in one on that one. Yeah, no, I completely respect that. I mean, obviously, you know, political parties are different elements in local areas. I mean, you know, the Labour beast that is in this constituency is huge. The Conservative one is big again, you know, and then you've got a lot of smaller parties running through, you know, and it's okay. The Conservatives are looking at me strangely, but you know, they've got more money than me, so I'm gonna, you know, it's as simple as that. It is. I mean, you know, these are stepping stones. You know, I mean, I've always said, why do you fight Bridgend? I live in Bridgend. That's number one. If I don't become the MP either at this election or an election in the future, it would be nice on my 99th year of on this planet that I finally sit in the bowling hall in Bridgend and actually see a Liberal Democrat get elected to represent Bridgend. So, stepping stones to greatness, I hope. Thank you.
Anything you want to say to that, Alex? All right. So that concludes our questions for this evening. And what we'll do is we'll close out and give you 2 minutes just to have your closing comments, and then after that we'll dismiss. So we'll start with Jamie.
Thank you. The polls indicate that this election is coming down to a choice between a hung parliament and a Conservative majority. And I think that we have got to get Brexit done and move forward as a country so that we can move on to all those other important issues such as health, education, policing and the environment. But to do that, we have to move forward now. We have to move past this issue. Another hung parliament could be years more of chaos, of bickering, of argument, potentially more referendum. And I don't think that's in the country's best interests. So if you want us to move forward and you want to back a candidate that wants to be active locally, then please vote Conservative on December the 12th. Thank you.
Yeah, so my name's Jonathan Pratt. I'm local. I live, breathe and sweat your problems. My biggest advice to you in this election would be get involved. If you like a candidate, support their campaign, and that goes for all 6 of the candidates here. Join a party, you know, stand for election if you can. Things don't change unless the public get involved. I would love to say that it's coming out of nowhere with a week to go. The Liberal Democrats are storming it. You know, vote for me, I'm going to be your MP. Reality suggests that's probably not going to happen, but that doesn't mean you can't give you my support in the ballot box. through helping me. So if you like what I'm saying, join my party. If you don't like what I'm saying, join an opposite party. The only real way of getting politics moving in this, or independent, I mean, there are a lot of independents in this area, you know, but stand for politics. Don't make it so expensive only certain people can become politicians. Let's bring it down to the grassroots level. Let's listen to people's problems. Let's make politics for the people. Thank you.
Okay, so it's been an enormous privilege to stand as a candidate in this election. Back in 2017, the Green Party locally took the decision not to put a candidate forward. This time, with the climate in the situation it is, with Extinction Rebellion out on the streets across the country and across the world, I just felt I had to stand, I had to put my name forward, and I had to say, we need to vote for the climate, we need to vote for the future, for our children, and a vote for the Green Party is a vote for the future and a vote for a better quality of life for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you guys for coming. I hope you enjoyed this evening and got something out of it. We're privileged to be able to have this here at Compassion Church and serve our local community. If you guys are looking for a local church to come to, we'd love to have you here on Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. We have different activities going on during the week. And so thank you so much. And also thank you for allowing this foreigner to be up on stage with these fine candidates here. Thank you so much. Have a brilliant evening, and don't forget to go vote.
To